It's the Scotty Mars Show.
Hey, welcome to the show this week. I'm your host, Scotty Mars. Thanks for tuning in. And my wife is back again this week in a weird state.
My surgery noise. Or is what you're most accustomed to hearing now lately is, Scott.
I hear that. Or this morning, thankfully.
And not in a naughty way.
No.
Like a, come here, wipe me, smell my armpit.
You have this sick fascination with making me smell your stink. And that goes beyond the surgery thing.
Well, I mean, it's been almost a week since I had my bilateral bunionectomy, which is what it's called. So I had both of my bunions removed, like on either foot. So I have stitches along the side, on the outside of my foot. So like baby toe to the arch, basically.
What was it called again?
Bilateral, so both feet. Bunionectomy.
It sounds like a government deal, like a bilateral commission.
A bilateral bunionectomy. Say aye if approved.
Aye.
Say nay if you don't approve. Nay.
Well, actually now, nay. Yes.
Sky. Yeah, so it's been a week of crutches and sitting and being bored and tired and not being able to walk around freely and do what I'm used to doing, because I'm like a putterer, so I like to putter around. But then it's also been a week of not showering. So they said that after 3 days I could remove the dressing, and I could like put water on it but not soak it. But it's I can't stand for more than a minute. I can't really lift my legs. We don't have a walk-in shower situation.
No, our tubs are hot.
Yeah, pretty high. Yeah. So I haven't showered in a week. I haven't had a bird bath. If you know what that means. Or you basically like wash in the sink.
I call that a trucker shower.
Okay. My mom always called it a bird bath. I guess because you're like kind of like, picture a bird bath in the backyard where you're just like splashing water on your armpits. I don't know how you wash your cooter because water would get everywhere, and I don't want to clean that. I'm on crutches, so I'm just letting it fly. My hair is like oily, like you could fry an egg on it.
You may want to direct them to which hair, because you were just talking about one area and you quickly jumped to another. So you may want
I also haven't worn pants since Thursday. Like I haven't worn pants in a week. And I like wearing loungy pants when I'm at home. So it's like a new Natalie. I'm getting comfortable with watching the trees grow, if you know what I mean. My pubes. Because they're getting long. And my hair on my legs is so long, but that's nothing new. And I think I'm just like learning my smells too. Like the crutches, the armpit of the crutches, very bad.
Well, yeah, and as I said, you have this thing about making me smell your stink, because you're like, come here, smell my armpits. Smell them. And I'm like, why?
It could be worse, I guess.
I guess it's sort of the equivalent to a guy like ripping a fart going, smell that.
Yeah. Well, it's like when you're tasting something bad in a restaurant, you're like, oh my God, taste this. It's so gross. Taste this. And the person's like, no, I'm not going to taste that, but you want to taste it. You want to share.
That really says how... Murphy.
He's into it.
Yeah, that really says how much you don't like your friends. When you think about it.
Well, we had a contest last night, you and I, where you were smelly in your underpit.
Oh, yes.
And I have been.
Yes.
It's been bubbling and boiling in my folds. And you were all like, you think yours is better, you smell mine. And I was like, I'll do it. And then you smelled mine first.
I did. And just imagine if someone attempted to...
Oh, this one's worse. My right is worse.
She's smelling them right now. Just imagine if someone attempted to, I don't know, fry a rotten egg on the sulfur pits of hell.
Egg?
That's like some...
Oniony?
You're past oniony. like
I'm into shallot territory.
oniony at this point would be delightful.
I do like fried onions. It's a good smell on a frying pan.
So yeah, I mean that's where I would put your scent right now. Listen, just because you can't shower, deodorant sticks still work.
But then you got cakey deodorant. Like, I'm letting it fly. Like, I didn't even put deodorant on Thursday morning before the surgery. I was just like, wet hair, don't care. Moist armpits, don't care pits. But your armpits smelled like a wet towel that's been used and hasn't been properly dried for like a week. And just been, when you have a towel and you don't really let it dry, but you keep using it, and it just smells like a damp camping towel.
Yeah.
That's what yours smelled like, which I was alarmed about, and I told you to get a new towel.
Get help. Get Flex Seal to seal up my glands.
Your towel is not. It may be mildewy.
It's you know what? I think it's just the inherent locker room smell is just permanently part of me.
Well, it's permanently part of me now. Like, I'm like high schooler who hasn't found deodorant yet, whose mom hasn't been like, you need this in your stocking.
You're reverting to like 60s Natalie.
Yeah, I mean, I got laser hair removal on my armpits, so I don't have to worry about that hair, which is nice, but that would be inches long by now. Yeah. I'm letting it go, man.
And then but you're doing better. Like, you made soup today?
I made soup by myself because you abandoned me.
I had to go to work.
And I was hungry, and I was like, Scott.
And 4 times before I left, I said, can I get you anything? Can I make you soup? And you said...
I'm an independent woman.
Said no.
I wanted to try it, and it was too soon. So I had to do a lot of back and forth from kitchen to living room. The cat wanted to be fed. I couldn't obviously carry a bowl of soup and crackers with gotta have the crackers on crutches. So I was really like, shuffling along, and it put a lot of strain on my feet. So they're not hurting. Like, the stitches hurt last night, but today was more like ache. Like, toes are achy and stiff.
Well, and that, I mean, for anybody that may actually end up having to have this surgery or some point, they kind of say you can walk with the pressure on your heels, but if you do that, like if you just do, because I've done it, and stuff like that, you have to kind of, to make sure you hit your heel first, you somewhat flex your foot, pull your toes up.
Yeah, I mean, the stitches are on the outside side, so it makes it a little easier to envision how you have to walk heel, but your big toe has to be in, but then all your toes are like, no, I don't want to move. So they're all just stiff, like erect soldier toes.
They're Viagra toes.
Viagra toes. And the erection hasn't gone down. It's been over 4 hours. I'm getting worried.
Well, we may have to dump you at a hospital. Don't know which one yet, but... and then, so the off story this week is happening a little earlier because it's a personal one. This one definitely made me go, and I said it when it happened. I said, oh, for fuck's sakes. I went out for a run on Saturday, as I am. Anybody that listens to the podcast knows I am a runner. I don't have any big events coming up just because everything's canceled. Mm-hmm. I'm eyeing April's half marathon for Star Wars at Disney. I'm eyeing that one. But so
I allowed you to run.
You allowed me to run. You said yes. And you said go out and run. So I'm doing, and I was like, I'll just do a quick one, like 5-6K. It's not going to be a long, lengthy one.
That's what she said.
Right. Especially with me. And I took a corner, stepped on a rock, rolled my ankle pretty bad.
Yes.
Like, pretty bad. I walked it off. I was about I want to say after walking a little bit of it off, about 3.25K into the run. So I was a ways away from my car, so I had to get back to my car. And after I walked it for a little bit, I was like, it's already starting to feel better. I can run back. So I ran back.
Oh, you didn't tell me that.
Yeah, I ran back on it. And then the funny thing was, like, I come home and I'm like, I was limping, and you're like, oh, God.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
And I'm like, yeah, I rolled my ankle. But it happens to me all.
Well, you're delicate. So when I see you limping, I assume, oh, you slept on your side, or oh, he sneezed and his toenail flew off with the pressure.
I'm not delicate. I'm tough as nails.
Oh, he dropped a toothpick on his toe and he's limping for a week.
Tough as
I
nails.
need to wrap it.
Well, you mocked
Natalie.
me. You mocked me. But the next day it felt okay, so I did a lot around, like I was mobile most the whole day. Didn't really stay off.
Well, I'm relying on you. I can't. Especially now. I mean, you made me make my own soup today.
I did not. Anyway, I'm taking no blame for that. But I ended up going to get an X-ray on it because I'm used to sprained ankles. I've had a lot of them in my life, and this one started to feel a little different because it was still hurting, like without even putting pressure on it.
And it was swollen.
And it was really swollen. So I go to get an X-ray, and the doctor comes in and goes, I think I see something in there, so we may have to cast you or put you in a boot.
So you texted me this, and I'm sitting on the living room, feet elevated from a bilateral bunionectomy. I can't help you. And if you're in a cast, I mean, I'm thinking like, oh my God, your mother's going to have to come live with us. It's gonna be like a sitcom.
Well, they were going to put me in a boot, which meant I probably could have walked.
But you still would have had to take care of it.
Yeah, and so they wait for the radiologist. He looks at it and goes, it just looks like a bone spur. You've probably had it forever, so it's just a bad sprain. Take care of it. The doctor on call looks at me and goes, I'd stay off it for 2 weeks. And I looked at him and went, my wife just had double foot surgery. She's immobile. That is not an option.
And I have to stay off my feet for 2 weeks. So
he just kind of looked at me and went, well, do what you can. And I said, okay.
You guys are screwed.
Yeah.
Your mother's going to have to live with you. What's her phone number?
So I've been hobbling around, and it's getting better. It is. It has its moments of pain. But it
really does it.
Yeah, it does.
No.
Yeah. So anyway, but just you talk about the worst possible time to have an injury.
Yeah.
Right?
But I was mad at you.
You were.
Like at first I was like, oh crap. And then it took like a couple days and I just lying in bed at night thinking like, you did this to me. You did this.
Yeah. Like
you're being like, because you do tend to over exaggerate pain. And
yes.
Oh, you admit it.
Well, I like the show. I'm a showman. I'm an entertainer.
Where I'm like, okay, I'm in pain, but I'm going to go make my own soup because I'm hungry. I'm home alone. I don't know how long I'm going to be alone for. And I want to like practice. I want to like get going again, right? I don't want to risk anything.
Which you have to a little bit,
I think you have to work it out a little bit, but yeah, I was mad at you because I thought you were just doing this on purpose because you didn't want to take care of me.
Which was not the case at all. But like, yeah, your quote was, why did you have to go run?
Why did you? Because it could have been anything. It could have been like a bird crapping directly into your eyeball and causing you to have to wear glasses or an eye patch for 2 weeks and not being able to make me soup.
But the thing is like, that's the thing. It's an accident. It could have happened walking. And
it wouldn't.
In my head, it was like, you were like, why did you have to go run? And in my head, my answer was like, because it's what I do. I go to the gym and I run. These are all things that I do.
And what I do is, Scott. I like when it gets like, it's kind of quiet and it gets loud. Scott. I need to pee.
I'm usually there before that one. So anyway, with both of us hobbled,
right?
We've been watching a lot of TV, and we checked out that new Unsolved Mysteries on Netflix.
Yeah, we had to take a bar rescue break. Bar rescue and. What was I watching last night for the first time? $1 Million Listings in LA. Good God.
Yeah, I couldn't understand why you were watching that one.
I'm just basically desperate for anything.
But we're not through all 6 episodes of the new Unsolved Mysteries yet, but I will say it's good.
Yeah, I think they did a good job beefing it up, like from the original. Still creepy, but it's more like modern documentary style.
Well, in the original, they would do like 3 or 4 different cases in an episode, and this one is just it's an hour on one case.
More respectful.
Well, and more in depth.
Yeah.
Right? And there's no host. which I think
No.
is a nice nod
Yeah,
to
we
Robert
don't need
Stack,
that.
because
Yeah.
nobody's going to replace
Well, in
him.
the opening credits, you see him as like a misty shadow.
Yeah, which is really cool. But like, what were they going to do? Get like James Franco to host it or something
Well,
like
look
that?
what they're
Like,
doing on my favorite channels like HLN, Very Scary People. Donnie Wahlberg. I mean,
he's a very scary
I
person.
have nothing, against the Wahlbergs, but I'm just like, what? Who made this decision?
Because they listened to his music in the Backstreet or New Kids on the Block,
Oh,
and they were like, he is a very scary person. But anyway, so the new Unsolved Mysteries is really good, and they do the same thing that they did in the old show, where they give like a phone number or a contact at the end, where they're like, if you
Yeah.
have information about this case, please, help.
solve this.
And apparently, like it has only been on there for a week or something
Yeah.
like that. They've already gotten 1,500 tips, which 50 of them have been flagged as like seriously legit and moved on to law enforcement.
Good, because they're, just like the original, very creepy to think that. I think the whole point of the original show is it made you think that could happen to me. Like, these things could happen. And I think it was the first show to kind of do that. Now we have Forensic Files and Very Scary People and Fear Thy Neighbor and all those shows that I watch all day long. On the Case with Paula Zahn. Shout out
they
to
have
Paula
everything.
Zahn.
Fear Thy Neighbor, Love Things, Is the Chef Trying to Kill You at Your Favorite Restaurant? Like, they have everything at this
Love
point.
Thy Chef.
Yeah, like...
Chef Love Thy. All those shows.
But and one of the cases, we'll talk about a couple of them, because a couple of them are... The first episode is like this mystery of a guy that jumped off a roof. That one's getting some interesting hits, but they say the Alonzo Brooks case, where this guy went to a party. He's like in his 20s.
23, yeah.
And all his friends kind of disappeared, and he was supposed to get a ride home with one of them, and then he disappears and is found a month later, and he's been murdered. And that one especially, because I remember after seeing the episode...
Well, they're assuming that he was murdered, because there's a lot of people saying... Oh, well, his neck was so badly decomposed that we can't tell if he was strangled, so undetermined. And then they're saying that maybe his body was stored somewhere and moved there because of the first search that happened was, they didn't see him. And then it took 30 minutes for the second search party that was mostly compiled of his friends and family. And, 30 minutes and you find your friend. Very disturbing.
Well, and that one I had heard it like on another podcast, and I wish I could remember which one it was, where they had brought this case up and said like there was a lot of internet chatter about it, where people were going like, people know what happened in the town.
Oh, come on, yeah.
But nobody was saying anything, and they say that could be the first one to be solved.
Good,
because of the
there's gotta
tips
be
coming in.
somebody at that party that saw something that. You can't have 100 people, in a room. Let's say there was 25 people in there.
Yeah.
You're telling me that not one person is lying awake at night going, I saw something. I got to say something. I can't live with myself. Come on.
There definitely is. And
there's not enough loyalty in the world for me to keep a secret like that.
so hopefully that one gets solved. And then it's also, I've noticed it's led to memes of another episode where there was a hairdresser that goes missing, and they find her eventually later. And they spend a lot of time interviewing her husband.
Yes.
And the new meme that I've seen popping around online is the new Carol Baskin.
Oh my God.
Because a lot of people think he is the one.
Well, he was a little eccentric.
He's...
And not very heartfelt.
No.
Didn't seem very sincere or sad.
No, and like I won't spoil it because I think it's worth watching, but there's something, like, if he didn't do it, he needs to work on being more empathetic.
But then there's also because I watch a lot of these cop shows where they say, the cops will say, well, the husband overreacted. He was putting on a show. He was crying. He misses his wife. He's guilty. And then there's the other side of, well, he didn't really show a lot of emotion. He was just kind of stunned. He's guilty.
Which
Like,
makes
what
me
are you supposed to
worried.
do?
Like, if anything ever happened to you, I don't know how I'd react.
Something is happening to me right now.
You're fine.
Remember when I threw up?
So
Unsolved Mysteries. Are we going to find puke under the couch in a month?
probably, because I didn't want to share this story because I wasn't sure if you wanted to. But so we get her home Thursday night. I will share it. And this is like a bonus. This is like a bonus off story because that was my reaction. Get her home from surgery. She's drugged up. She's had anesthetic for the first time in her life.
Yeah, I've never been under general anesthetic.
Had some Tylenol 3s in you, so you're hopped up on codeine. Mm-hmm. And you were like, I want Thai food. And instead of getting like light Thai food, you're like, I want green curry. I want the thickest, heaviest shit I can have. Put that in my stomach. That's full of chemicals right now. So
they said to eat, like if you're, try eating food, and they said nausea would probably be a factor. And I'm laying there, and I ate. I took 2 Tylenol 3s, which I was supposed to at the right time, and I just felt really awful.
And you looked at me and went, "Can you get a bucket?" And
you're like, "Oh
no!" I sprung into action.
No, you sprang into action when I started smacking the couch like, "It is happening!"
So I run and get a bucket,
and you looked like a cartoon, like ding, 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 like Fred Flintstone Twinkle Toes. Like your feet went up in like circles. All I saw was you just take off. It's like you did inventory of all the garbage cans in our apartment of like which one has the less garbage in it. I don't fucking care. I'm gonna puke. And then when you came back in the room,
you thought it would be a wise idea to put your hand over your mouth. And you projectile vomited.
No, it spewed over my hand.
No. It almost hit the TV. It went through your hand, out of your mouth, it was like I was watching like a spit take, or like if you hold down something over like a high pressure hose, but there's enough room for some of it to come through. And it was spraying everywhere.
Oh, it was a good first spew.
Right. And then I got you the bucket.
Chunks, and then I got the bucket and I puked in the garbage can. But it was all over me and the couch, which is thankfully covered in blankets.
Yeah,
those blankets have to be burned.
Yes.
You were doing laundry. You did laundry for like the first time.
The first time with you. I've done many a laundry in my life, but
I still had to walk you through it, even though I was like,
so then
you put the Tide Pod in first. Water.
I did it fine. So then I spent the rest of the night cleaning up vomit from various places.
But that's what you have to do in this situation.
Oh,
that's part of the relationship. Like, you're not, it's not like you have to change my diaper or anything, but yes, have you walked past the bathroom while I'm flamingoing my leg? Because I feel like the only way I can like really correctly wipe myself is to like lift my leg up like I'm like star shaped to really get in there, because I can't put pressure on the outside of my feet, right? Like, when you're wiping and you're sitting down and you kind of you spread your knees a little bit. Is that just me? Is that how I learned it? Anyway,
I don't know.
So I'm lean and you're like walking by, you're like, oh, hey, how's it going? Like, I'm exposed.
If we had a subtitle for this episode, like, episode 4, A New Hope, this one would be like episode whatever. I've lost count of the numbers. Too much information. We got vomit. We got No. I love it, but but yeah, so that was part of this whole recovery. I was trying to spare you that embarrassing story, but it was like animated. It was like I was watching a live episode of Family Guy.
I was concerned, and I thought about it for a long time after, that maybe instead of my hand, I should have used my shirt. Like, when you're collecting apples. And you're being all cute and you're picking apples and you're putting them in your shirt. Well, I should have done that.
Or
because it was a heavy cotton.
Or just like we always tell the cat when she's throwing up and there's the carpet there, and we're like, no, go to the hardwood.
Always on the carpet.
Just should have moved to the hardwood.
It came out of nowhere, she says as she takes a drink of bourbon.
On to the geek news of the week. We got a few interesting ones this week. I had forgotten that this was even happening. Netflix has an animated Transformers show coming. And they released the trailer. It's up right now. Scotty Mars Show on Facebook and at Scotty Mars on Twitter. And I gotta say, it looks really cool. The animation style is a little bit more on the anime side, which is not like my favorite style of animation.
Isn't that like original? Isn't that what they were like in the 80s or something?
No, I wouldn't call them anime in the 80s. But it does look sweet. I will say that. So go check out the trailer. And again, July 30th is when that hits Netflix. Last week we talked about Comic-Con at home and Disney kind of announcing some of their things, and conspicuous by their absence was Marvel Studios. Well, now we pretty much have all but confirmation Marvel Studios is skipping Comic-Con at home, which is interesting that they're doing that. So there's not, like we said, not a lot of news coming out of Marvel Studios. Couple of little tidbits that we got from them, though. Apparently, Ant-Man 3 is going to start production in summer of 2021. I didn't see the second Ant-Man movie. I saw the first one, and I thought it was highly forgettable. Like, I walked out of the theater and was like, what did I just watch?
I think I'm going to just say something that's not really that nice, but I love Paul Rudd, but how old is he?
I don't know. He's ageless.
I think he is, because he looks the exact same way as he did in Clueless, which came out when I was in grade 6.
Yeah.
Aging myself. But I think there's a reason why they're not showing up at these Comic Cons, because they're all getting facelifts, because they all have to appear to be, 25 years old and agile. I just think it's a little ridiculous.
Well, I just think this is, and this, I felt this way since the first one. And I'm like you, I like Paul Rudd. Like, there's some of his movies, like, what is it, Step Brothers?
So memorable.
Or what? I can't remember the title.
Movie?
No, not Step Brothers.
Our stupid idiot brother?
No, I can't remember the name of it now, which just bugs me. But
He's so memorable.
No, well, the movie is. I can quote the movie. But I like him comedically.
I Love You, Man?
No, I hate that movie.
Oh, okay.
Hate that movie. Hate that movie. Like, for a summer of people going, slap into bass, I just wanted to slap them in the face. Because it was like, no, stop. That movie was not funny in any way, shape, or form. But it was the one that he... like,
no, it's going to still go on? Okay.
No, I don't want to. But anyway, it was very...
Step Brothers?
Well, it wasn't Step Brothers, but it was one where they played, like, the big brothers. Him and, what's his name? Sean William Scott or something like that.
Oh, like mentors? Or
yeah, like they were the big brothers because they got like arrested for driving drunk.
Right.
Or whatever. Anyway, I really like there are lines in that movie that I could quote that I think are hilarious, especially a lot of the stuff related to Kiss. But I like that movie, and I do like Paul Rudd.
Interesting. I'm starting to put the connection together between that movie and I Love You, Man, which is their obsession with Kiss in that movie, and then Rush,
which I don't like Rush either.
Never changes.
I like a few Rush songs, but I'm not big into prog rock. Oh, let's put it that way. But anyway, I just never thought Paul Rudd was a superhero.
Yeah.
Like, I know Ant-Man gets his powers from a suit, so literally you could put anybody in that, but I just never was like, yeah, I just don't buy him as a super. But anyway, Ant-Man 3 going to start production summer 2021, and of course we get the Black Widow movie in November, and the director, this is a spoiler in some respects, I guess, the director of the film says that in the movie, Scarlett Johansson will pass the baton of Black Widow
because she's getting too old
to Florence Pugh. I don't know how to pronounce her last name.
So Paul Rudd can be 60 years old playing Ant-Man in 2025, but Scarlett Johansson, who's probably going to be turning 40, is pass the baton on to a 20-year-old.
See, no, but you haven't seen some of the other ones.
Yeah,
she has to
I know.
pass the baton because she died.
That's how they get around it.
But it just seems to me, I'd rather just bring her back. It's comic books. You can bring people back to life. Right? But anyway, so that's a little bit of Black Widow news. That's all we got from Marvel. Switching over to DC, Stargirl, which I cannot say enough great things about Stargirl. Fantastic show. If you're not watching it, you should do so. It's on the CW. It has been renewed for a second season, which is great. And then just before we started recording, we got other CW DC news, as everybody was shocked when Ruby Rose just up and said, I'm leaving Batwoman after one successful season. And everybody was like, well, what the fuck are they going to do? Well, they've recast, and they're changing the character, so it's not going to be the same character in season 2. And Javisha Leslie, I hope I pronounced that right.
So she's going to get the baton tossed to her,
well,
too?
no, but Ruby Rose is gone, so nobody's passing her the baton. She's just picking it up off the ground.
How are they going to write that in? How's it going to make a sentence?
I don't know. And that's the thing. I think they're in a very weird spot with Batwoman because, I mean, for her, there's a ton of pressure. Because let's say people don't like season 2 as much, and maybe it's just the writing, like maybe the storyline isn't as good.
Or it could be just people are like over it, or they're at Ant-Man 3 every weekend.
But yeah, so a lot of pressure for her, but I don't know any of her work. She was on the show God Friended Me on CBS.
But isn't it better when someone is an up-and-coming...
Oh, I love them.
You're not sure who they are personally. There's not a Wikipedia page, or there's not, it's not a big name, big news. So you can really immerse yourself into like, oh, this is Batwoman. This is the new character. This is cool. But
then it becomes a double-edged sword, because then if she crushes it, then that's all she becomes known for.
No!
Listen, Christopher Reeve crushed Superman, and it was like, dude, Superman. He couldn't do anything else. Dude was Superman. If George Clooney had crushed Batman, because that was early in his career, he would have been Batman. Thankfully, probably for George Clooney, he didn't crush Batman. We watched that again recently, and
mortifying.
Oh, man, I love me some Dark Knight, but and I love a lot of variations. Somebody called me out on Facebook when I said that Batman and Robin was worse than I remembered, and that's saying something.
Well,
and people were like, you didn't like Batman 66. And I was like, no, I like a lot of iterations of Batman. That's just a bad movie.
It's just funny when you watch these movies, like even just 1989 Batman, how much I loved that movie when I was a kid.
Careful now. If you say anything bad about that movie,
but I'm not.
Could be divorce papers.
I'm saying bad about the movie, but you watch it as an adult, and I think it has really nothing, because I haven't seen any really of the new Batman movies. But so it's not like I'm comparing them or comparing the technology used in movies today, but you see like the way they filmed those then, it's like you could have done it better. You had the resources in 1989 to make it, like the scene with the parade and Joker's throwing the money around. I mean, when I was a kid, I thought there was millions of people on that street and the music was blaring. Like I had this memory, and then I watched it as an adult and the music's really low. Like it's Prince. That was a major soundtrack.
That's Party Man.
Yeah, but the song should have been loud, and there was like maybe 20 extras and they used the same side. The camera pans over to the left. You got the guy in the hat. Camera pans over to the right. You got the guy in the hat. It's like, what happened here?
Listen.
What happened?
I say, and I still like, that is probably my favorite superhero film of all time. I love Ledger's Joker, but I think Nicholson's is better. I just think he has a better balance of psychotic and humor. My hot take is that's Prince's best album.
But it wasn't showcased enough.
But that's okay.
Like when you watch it as an adult.
Enough.
But when you watch movies now, and it's like, that's all. It's just the soundtrack. Things are more prominent.
The only question I have about that movie, and I've had this in the comic books as well, is how did Joker get so much branded Joker merchandise so quickly? Like all his goons have Joker jackets. He's got a helicopter with Joker painted on the side. Like Bruce Wayne's a multimillionaire.
Yeah.
We know how Bruce gets his shit.
Yes.
How did Joker get all that stuff so quickly?
Man. I went to New York City three days after Michael Jackson died. When was that? Like 10 years ago, right?
Something like that, yeah.
And I got lost in Harlem, and all along the streets of Harlem, I mean, people were playing Michael Jackson from their cars, and there was like a Michael Jackson memorial at the Apollo. But the streets were lined with tables, the sidewalks, and people were selling Michael Jackson t-shirts, like 1950 to 2000, whatever. And it's like, how did you make that? Like stickers and t-shirts. And I know New York's a bigger city, so they probably have the factories to do that. But I'm like, how did you do that? So maybe Joker used the same
printing company
as the Michael Jackson.
We still didn't see a helicopter floating around though with Michael Jackson on the side. The helicopter one still gets me. Anyway, that's
well, we could talk about Batman and Robin again too. I mean, the script was just
that's the thing.
awful.
It's just a bad movie. Like it's not that it's cheesy or campy or anything.
It's supposed to be campy though,
it's
right?
supposed to be.
Is it supposed to be a throwback of like the Adam West sort of thing?
I think that's part of what he was going for there. And there was definitely a mandate from Warner Brothers to make it more kid friendly. But again, close up shots of the Batman's ass,
butts at the beginning, and Alicia
Silverstone, which I enjoyed, but
her butt and her boobies, and it's like, what is happening?
And like, I never thought of it when I was a kid, but like for some reason, Uma Thurman plays Poison Ivy as like a 1950s mobster dame.
I thought she did a good job. I couldn't see anyone else doing that.
Oh, I got a long list of people.
She looked beautiful.
She looked good.
And I thought she did a good job with it, but it was so bizarre.
And I will
bizarrely bad.
And I will still say, if you have Bane in a movie, first off, you ruin Bane by turning him into the Hulk, where he can't form a sentence, which is anti the Bane character altogether. But if you have Bane in a movie, and you have the man walking the earth that is closest to Bane in Arnold Schwarzenegger in build, why do you make him the scientist?
You're not going to cast Arnold Schwarzenegger, at the height of his career in the 90s to be the
no, character. But then you fix Bane. You don't make Bane. You make him the psychotic serial killer that's a genius that takes the venom and becomes also physically strong.
Then who would play Dr. Freeze?
Some skinny nerd dude. Ed Norton. Ed Norton would actually be a really good Dr. Freeze. Mr. Freeze. Sorry, Mr. Freeze. He'd be a great Mr. Freeze. There you go. Casting for DC. And last little thing on DC is they've got a bunch of rumor movies because they have that DC fandom coming up August 22nd. And apparently you can submit your questions for some of the panels online. And when you were scrolling through to pick movies, there was Secret Movie 1 and Secret Movie 2, which means we're going to get 2 movie announcements that we don't know about. But now there's rumors coming out on what those could be. So we'll quickly touch on these. One is Batman Beyond. With the news that Michael Keaton is coming back to Batman, right. Fans are like, we can finally get a live-action version of the animated show, which shows an older Bruce Wayne getting Terry McGinnis to don the Batsuit and go out and fight crime.
I thought this was Birdman.
No.
Wasn't Birdman a Batman sequel?
No.
I know. I'm joking.
No.
Just because the plot is a superhero movie that, he's an actor that plays a superhero.
But this is different. But Batman Beyond is great, and it'd be great if we got a live action version of it, and of course doing Keaton as the older Batman would be perfect.
Right.
Absolutely perfect. So I'm hoping that is true. Rumor of a Zatanna movie.
Carlos Santana?
No, Zatanna. Zatanna. You're going, who the hell is she? She's a magician. Great character. Mm-hmm. And I think she would be great to have in a movie. She's usually we see her a lot in the comics in Justice League Dark, which is getting its own show on HBO Max. So kind of one of those things of like, are we going to have 2 versions of her or what the deal is? But I feel for any actress that gets the role because the ways she casts her spells is by speaking backwards.
Right.
So that's going to be hard.
Well, I'm sure they'll figure it out.
They'll probably just loop the audio backwards.
Yeah.
But still. And then the last one is, of course, J.J. Abrams is signed on with Warner Brothers, and he's overseeing this Justice League Dark movie, and one of the members of Justice League Dark is John Constantine, and we already had a Constantine movie starring Keanu Reeves, and now the rumors are that J.J. Abrams is going to make another Constantine movie, at least produce it, and that Keanu is going to come back.
Not Paul Rudd?
No. Keanu Reeves is going to come back to be John Constantine, which I think would be good. The movie was good. People kind of shit on it a little bit, but I actually enjoyed it. And if you go back and watch it now, it holds up really, really well. The only thing I feel for there is Matt Ryan, who has been playing John Constantine on TV now for a while, from the Constantine TV show into Legends of Tomorrow, and he's voiced it in some of the animated shows. He does a great job with the character, so I feel like, unless again they're doing the multiverse thing where maybe he can be on the TV show and Keanu can be on the movies, that might work, but I don't want to see him knocked out of a job because he crushes it.
Well, people will go see Keanu, not what's its name? Because, but you got to talk to the layman terms. No, the regular people.
I 100% listen. I understand.
That's who pays for going to see the movie.
I understand, especially now because Keanu is having this amazing career renaissance, right? Like his career was kind of all but in the toilet, really.
Yeah, because he never sexually harassed any actresses, so people are like, "Oh, hey, it's that guy. And he never touched my butt. Let's give him a job."
And then he does the John Wick stuff which is amazing, and his career's right back up, and then he's got the Bill and Ted coming out, and so maybe now
that looks bad.
It looks fun. I think I'm gonna enjoy it, but if he could
before my time,
if he could return to Constantine, that would be very, very cool. So we'll find out. We'll get more info at the DC fandom. There's also a loose rumor out there, and I might as well mention it, that HBO Max has struck a deal with Ben Affleck to return as Batman for a TV show on HBO Max.
That's kind of a toilet career move, isn't
No.
it? HBO? I mean, they can't afford that.
Oh, they can. HBO is owned by Time Warner. Right?
So it's a lot of dough, a lot of work.
But they want a lot into the streaming service. So, I mean, you want to get people to subscribe, Batfleck is the way to go. And listen, the thought of it tightens my pants.
Oh, my.
But again, that's a real loose rumor, so I don't know how much truth there is to that. But August 22nd, we should get some more information on all these crazy DC rumors that are flying around right now. Thanks to everybody that continues to subscribe. We popped up in Bolivia.
Oh.
So thank you, Bolivia.
Nothing to say about Bolivia.
I really don't know much about
beautiful.
Bolivia.
I don't know anything about it.
But thank you, Bolivia.
It's fun to say.
And I love that when new countries pop up. So thank you so very much. Don't forget to follow us on all the social media channels. Scotty Mars Show on Facebook and Instagram, at Scotty Mars on Twitter. But if you forget any of those, the easiest place to find us is ScottyMarsMedia.com. And until we chat again, have a great week.